With us here on the Tuesday edition of the South African Morning. It's 8:45. Depending on how well you do with SARS, this next conversation could be terrifying for you, but we're going to help you through it. The tax filing season starting on the 1st of July. Non-provisional taxpayers have until the 23rd of November to file your tax returns. SARS aiming to issue auto-assessments to more than 3 million taxpayers this year. To take away the bad dreams is our Maya Fisher-French, who joins us here on the show every week. In terms of auto-assessments, what does it exactly mean, and what do taxpayers need to be aware of? It sounds like a good idea, almost too good to be true.
Well, it was introduced last year, and it worked actually incredibly efficiently. And this is where you get an SMS. SARS says, by the way, we've used all the third-party data we have on you. We filled your tax return in for you. Just press accept. You go onto the website or the Mobi app and you accept the tax return. So last year, they were able to issue 85% of tax assessments were processed in 5 seconds, and 77% of those received their refunds in 72 hours. So it works obviously pretty well. They tested it last year. But there's always a but when it comes to SARS. And I know this from personal experience, helping my family fill in theirs, and also the tax practitioners tell me, double check, don't just push accept, because there are glitches. Sometimes they've drawn in the wrong IRP5, or they've left out your travel allowance, or there's been an error. So, it works, but the onus is on you to check that it is correct. And also, if they have forgotten to include income, or there's income perhaps that you get from another source, like rental income, you do need to add it. Don't say, oh, well, SARS, you didn't know about it, so I'll just accept. Because when they find out that you had that rental income and you didn't declare it, there'll be a problem. So it works, but please, the onus is on you to make sure it's correct. And I think, Gareth, also just to mention, not everybody has access to the website. Not everybody's on a smartphone. So this year, SARS has also introduced an SMS system. So you can actually send an SMS with your ID number and then whatever your request is, like tax number, balance, or whatever it is, and they will be able to reply to you via SMS. So a lot of effort and energy is going into making it a lot easier for SARS to take money from us.
And hopefully to give some money back if you've been well behaved with Santa SARS, giving us some money back if you've done all your taxes correctly. So to all the tax consultants and tax experts, you can breathe, you still have a job. Not everyone's going to accept the auto assessments just off the face of it. Okay, let's talk about something that's been a bit of an issue, Maya, and I think you and I spoke about this a little earlier in the year. The Commissioner did issue a warning, though, this is the SARS Commissioner, of course, about deducting for home office expenses, because a lot of us are working from home. So what do I need to be aware of? Can I claim back for my printer cartridge, for example?
So this is very important, because it also is a very big definition between whether you're self-employed or you're an employee. So SARS has said the rules have not changed. There are only very specific things that you are able to claim from SARS. And what they're finding is that a lot of people are overclaiming. So they have said very simply, basically, if you submit for a home office for the first time, you will be audited. So they've had about over 1,500 tax returns that had office deductions or home office expenses claimed. And of those, they stopped 1,306 for verification audit. So I think be aware, understand it. If you're not sure, speak to an accountant, what qualifies, what doesn't, because SARS is not letting this one go very easily. They are looking for money everywhere. And Gareth, just to note something else the Commissioner said last week, which was a number that really blew me away, was that they have identified 26,000 individuals who had an economic activity. In other words, they were spending more than R1 million a year and had not registered for tax. So they are coming, they are finding people, they're under pressure. So, I think dodging taxes is perhaps something of the past now.
Maya, first of all, I'd like to meet these people who have R1 million to spend in a year during COVID-19. I'd love to meet who these people are. I've got about a minute with you, and I know this isn't originally what you and I discussed. We were going to talk about just maybe some advice in the last minute I've got with you, just for people who've perhaps not necessarily lost their jobs, but they've had their salaries cut. Not necessarily in the last tax year, but maybe halfway through last year. How do they handle their tax this year? They're still employed, they've still got their IRP5, they've got to make their submission, but their salaries have been cut. Just very quickly, what do they need to look out for before I say goodbye?
Well, they would obviously have a lower income, so their IRP5s would reflect that. They've had a lower income there. And also there's a big question around travel allowance. If you received a travel allowance but you haven't been driving, you may have a bit of a scare on your tax return. So I think it's very important that when you're doing the submissions that you check that, because if you didn't log those kilometers, you may land up having to pay SARS in as well. So I think if you have had a drop in income, you need to assess that IRP5, or if you're a provisional taxpayer, for example, you need to make sure that you've adjusted for it accordingly. But SARS they are obviously expecting to see some drop in income and less payment from employers. Again, it's the employers who submit the IRP5. So just make sure it reflects correctly your income for that year.
Well, I appreciate the extra advice as well. Maya on tax, Maya on money, also Maya on Twitter as well. You can go and follow Maya Fisher French. I'm sure she'll answer a lot of questions you and I have about the daunting tax season.